This Bowman trying to bring it down. A bicycle kick, and that one is in! A spectacular goal! My goodness! Taylor Twellman goes airborne.
Wynn lets it drop, takes a shot. Oh! That is goal of the year stuff! You're not going to see a better goal than that. Here's Agudelo. Oh, look at that flick. Is that going in? Are they calling it a goal? Yes! Agudelo! Golazo! Unbelievable! Diego, he'll have another shot, and this time he puts it in the back of the net. 50th career goal. Youngest player in MLS history to hit that mark.
Welcome back in, ladies and gentlemen, into Revvin for 11. My name is Mason Souza. Thank you very much for finding me, for tuning in. Here to talk about the New England Revolution for about 11 minutes or so. I promise. It's probably, if I have to guess right now, I'm going to say 18 minutes. So enough of that jib-jab. We got to get into it right now. I am on Twitter, by the way, Revvin for 11. And that is all I'll say about promotion. Let's get to the Revs themselves, because my goodness, do they need help. What is going on with the New England Revolution? They are now what seems like days away from going 4 straight seasons without a playoff berth. 4 points through 7 matches. They just lost to the defending champs. Yes, the defending champs, but they had a putrid, and still are technically, having a putrid start to their return, to defend their champion crown. They were coming into Gillette with 2 points, and they leave with 5. So now, yes, you guessed it, the New England Revolution are the worst team in the Eastern Conference, sitting with only 4 points. But let me tell you how this went down and then what is to come next, because obviously the Revs are in the middle of their longest homestand, only 3 games, but it's their longest homestand of the season and the most crucial part of the year you don't even need to get back on track at this point. You just need some results. If it's a one-off thing like the Minnesota game 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, whenever that was, it seems like that was last year. You just need some action. And I understand it was a makeshift back line. Obviously, Mancien was given the 2 yellows a week previous against Columbus. De La Mea still out. Edgar Castillo still out. So what the hell are you going to do? Jaleel Alibaba and Andrew Farrell moves from right back to center back. Andrew Farrell was the player of the game. He was the man of the match on the Revs side of the ball, because obviously on the other side, Ezequiel Barco, the 20-year-old with a brace and a tremendous second goal. Really nothing the Revs could do about the second goal, but after that goal, I'm sorry, my interest was gone. It just seemed like you could tell the Revs were not getting back into this game after that second goal in the 49th minute, I believe it was. But Christian Penilla joins the starting lineup. First time in the starting lineup since the FCC game, since the expansion team dismayed the Revs 2-0. Wilfred Zahibo and Luis Casado also go into the starting 11 to kind of, I guess Brad Friedel's mind shore up that back line. Luis Casado was at right back or left back, and Brandon Bai was at the other one. And late in the second half with 30 minutes, it was just pitch and toss. It was handoff. It was cornhole all day for Atlanta United. It was hopscotch. Whatever child's play. Is that a thing? Is that a term? It was child's play. Yeah, that makes sense for Atlanta United. And it very well, I said it last week on last week's episode, like how the Revs could have lost easily 5-0 to Columbus. It really could have been the same. It really could have been the same this week to Atlanta. And it's just disappointing, because if you needed anything from the attackers to bail out your makeshift defense, this was the week. That was the week to do it against Atlanta. And through 90 minutes, 90-plus stoppage time, 1 shot on goal. And it was from the third substitute, Tajon Buchanan. What are we doing, guys? What are we doing? Is he considered a forward? I don't know. Some people say yes, some people say no. Because if he's not, that means through 7 matches, real quick, carry the 9 times 90, over 630 minutes of soccer played. 0 shots on goal for your forwards. That's just disgusting. That's pathetic. I'm sorry. I'm telling you like it is. That is not good. The understatement of the century. That is not good. Your forwards having 0 shots on goal through 7 matches. But hey, never fear. Because Brad Friedel, you have one more game. You have one more match. This was my mindset. I said, I will give you a quarter of the season to get your lineup ready, to get your ideal lineup set. That's 8 matches. Technically 8.5, but you know what? Fine. I'll give you the 9th at this point. You have 2 matches. You have the rest of this homestand to find your ideal lineup. Because if you're still scrambling when we're in double digits of matches, the season's over. The season's over. If you still don't know where people are set, who is going to give you the best result, because I'm sorry, right now it's not Juan Fernando Caicedo as your striker. What was it, the 90th minute? He gets a great ball from Diego Fagundes, who thankfully found the field. But, I mean, then again, he didn't really do much except this possible assist. It goes right to Fernando's feet, JFC's feet, and if you were watching it, Paul Mariner was yelling about it for the next 30 minutes, including the postgame interview with the coach, saying something like, Coach, what is Juan Fernando Caicedo thinking? Not putting that on goal. And Friedel actually kind of laughed it off in half playoff, half disgust, I think. Like, what are you thinking, JFC? You got to volley that and put that on goal because there's a center back breathing down your neck and you get dispossessed very easily. Obviously, there's a very good chance that wouldn't have mattered. That would have been 2-1 with a couple minutes of stoppage time, but is what it is. Can we take some kind of positive into next week? And there was none. Andrew Farrell showed guts and balls and perhaps stopped 3 goals by himself. Cody Cropper late in the game with some big saves. But the damage was done. The damage was done, guys. And not necessarily, I wouldn't put the Revs at fault, really, for the 2 goals from the 20-year-old. It was great play, great position. It's not like they failed to mark their man. Obviously, Barco was open 6 yards out, but it was to stop the end around. But I'm looking at you, the attackers. What exactly are you doing? You can do all the fancy touches you want. 150 touches, I think it was, in the final third, which was second best in the MLS leading into match weekend 7. Second best, 150 touches in the final third. Or, excuse me, other way around. 4th most touches in the final third in the 12-yard box. 150 touches, but only 11 shots on target. And that's the second least. Go from one extreme to the other. You can have all the fancy footwork, but if you can't put your foot towards goal, it all means nothing. And that's where the Revs are right now. Good footwork, but when it's time to finish, it's not there. And Scotty Caldwell said as much in the postgame. It was great to hear this, but what are you going to do? What's next? Because looking at those players, looking at some of the players in the postgame and in the 90-minute mark when they knew it was over, a lot of disgusted faces. A lot of, well, maybe disgusted is harsh. Maybe just aggravated faces. Not that the work rate wasn't there, because it was there. It almost seems like they know they aren't good enough. And that sucks. It really does. The Cincinnati game was one thing 3 weeks ago, or whenever that was, the 24th of March. It was pathetic in a way of no work rate. And the team needed a kick in the ass, and that's what Brad Friedel basically said and did. You know, with the whole remarks of players waiting by the car to beat them up, whatever. But the team responded with, it was 6 changes in the starting lineup. That's one thing. Effort can be fixed. It's a bad look. It's probably the worst look when you don't show effort as a professional, but it can be fixed. You just show effort. It's the easiest thing to do, as the coach said. You show effort. Anyone can show effort. But when you know you aren't good enough, and yes, I know it was against Atlanta United, but this is a team that is in nowhere near its true contending form. And maybe after this win, they finally get their first win of the season. Who would have thought the defending champs needed, 6 games or whatever it was to get their first win? But maybe this is what propels them to being a dominant team in the West again, or the East again, excuse me. This was against a team that you should have beat in its capacity where they are nowhere near their form, and they just couldn't do it. The high press is the only positive for me, quite frankly. The high press works. The only way it works is putting pressure on the opponents to force errors. Once you get the ball, that's a completely different story. We're kind of talking about the same thing as I did last week. Both games were kind of similar. Atlanta and Columbus in back-to-back weeks. High press worked. You got the ball in the attacking third, but you can't finish. You can't put a shot towards goal. 90 minutes, 1 shot on goal. That should never happen. But who would have thought? It took an injury 10 seconds into the game. Eric Romeda. You say potato, I say potato. 10 seconds in, he smacks heads with Luis Caicedo. Your right back, or left back, Luis Caicedo. I'm just going to call him Eric. The Atlanta player, Eric. Tried to carry on valiantly for the next 10 minutes, but he eventually needed to come off. It looked like the head, who knows if it was the assumption is that it was a concussion. He would come off the field, and in comes the injury sub, Ezequiel Barco. So who would have thought if they didn't smack heads 10 seconds in, maybe the Revs win. Maybe they get a 0-0 draw. Who knows? Josef Martinez had 3 shots, 3 chances in front of goal by himself, and he couldn't finish. It was also good play from Andrew Farrell on the back line. 2 straight weeks, a Revs player needed to be on the back line to defend a potential goal. And that's good on their part. That's great that they're in the right position, but you shouldn't be in that position in the first place. And again, I'm not here to totally hash on the defense. It's more so the attacking. Because yes, the defense was down 3 regulars in Mancien, De La Mea, and Castillo. It's those attackers. Bunbury on the bench. I believe he came in. It was a double sub, right? Bunbury and Fagundes. For Duan Jones, who was okay. I think Duan Jones has earned himself a starting spot because he's the one with the dynamic speed. And obviously he had the goal. It was an offsides goal, but he proved to be a worthy piece for at least this Revs team to stay in the starting 11. Cody Cropper was okay. There was a lot of times where he was way too aggressive and he should have got burned more than once. But he didn't. Farrell on the back line and Josef it was the first 10 minutes, I think, missed frame after getting by Cropper. So it could have been, like I mentioned, it could have been very, very bad. It could have been 15-0 easily. But we're already at that mark. Did I say 18 minutes, 15 minutes? We're already at that mark. Wrapping up here. I mentioned Caldwell saying that his team didn't have the killer instinct. That just puts the nail on the head right there. Spot on. He was on target by saying that. One of the few times a Revs player was on target this year. And it was in post-game comments. That may be harsh to say. That's a bad pun. But come on. Results don't lie. It is what it is. Carlos Gil can't do it all. I'm actually looking at Gil too because it's great that you want to be across the entire field and cause interceptions in your own third, but you should live in the attacking half because you need to be there to have the Revs score. Carlos Gil needs to be on the ball at some point if the Revs are going to score in any consistent fashion. I need to see him in the box. I need to see him 25 yards out with the ball. I need to see him on the wing bringing in crosses. I shouldn't see him as far back as our center backs. There's no reason for that. I shouldn't say there's no reason, but you're going to get worn down very quick. And at the end of 2 games in a row now, Carlos Gil, sloppy turnovers because of fatigue. So this was kind of a different way of, instead of recapping the game from start to finish, just the whole feel of how the game went. And I basically told you at the beginning, Barco's second goal, there was no chance the Revs were coming back after that. Tremendous goal. And it's not like the Revs were disastrous in defending those 2 goals, but it's just a look that it's finally sinking in that they're not good enough to make it back to the playoffs at their capacity right now. The Revolution have lost 3 of their 4 home matches, all 3 by the same score. 0 goals, 2-0. The composure is absent, the sloppy passing, and they're lacking dynamic capabilities. That's enough for 10th place, 11th place, definitely not a playoff team. So where's that DP? Bring him in. Come on, come all. We need you. European DP, where are you at? Because this team needs some kind of boost. Not just a one-off. I mean, a one-off could have helped for Atlanta, but you're in the biggest home stretch right now. And if you don't come out with a win next week against the Red Bulls, I'm sorry, the season's over. You're going to be way too far behind. There's too many teams better above you to slump to where you are right now. There you go. Revvin for 11. We kept this under 20 minutes, right? Maybe? Thank you very much for listening. My name's Mason Souza. I'm going to try to write about every game as well. You can find that on my Twitter account, Revvin for 11. Just a little synopsis of the game and what's next for the Revs and where do they go. The season isn't over yet. But I feel if 3 points aren't won against the Red Bulls this upcoming Saturday, then you can close the book on it. That's just how I feel right now. Or at the very least, you better look good in a draw. You better look great in a draw. Thank you very much for listening. Revvin for 11. We kept it under 20 minutes for once. We'll see you next time.